Hello viewers, I am Professor Sharanjeet, working at the Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law, Punjab. In today's lecture, we shall talk about application of consumer protection law in essential services. Needs are limited, whereas human greed has no end. The greed to earn more and more money may lead to the black marketing, hoarding of essential commodities. Essential commodities means basic goods for survival like food, oil, medicines, cotton, petroleum, etc. Many a time it is seen that the producers, wholesalers and retailers may hoard the essential commodities when their demand is high and supply is less due to one reason or the other. The market supplies are deliberately reduced in times of crisis like the outbreak of war, disease or epidemic. This in turn leads to an increase in the price of such commodities. As the commodities are essential in nature, the buyers have no choice but to buy them even at a very high price. For instance, during COVID-19, masks and sanitizers became a necessity. In order to protect the interests of the consumers from high-priced goods and to maintain a regular and steady supply of essential commodities, a legal framework was considered to be essential. As India is a welfare state and the Constitution of India under the directive principles of state policy envisages overall well-being and welfare of the people, a law to deal with this aspect of human life was considered imperative. Article 369 of the Constitution had empowered the Parliament during a period of 5 years from the commencement of the Constitution to make laws with respect to trade and commerce in and the production, supply and distribution of certain essential commodities. The Essential Commodities Act 1955 is thus based on the constitutional mandate. The law has been amended from time to time to better protect the interests of the consumers. So, what are essential commodities? Commodities refer to those goods and products that are essential for the sustenance of life. The commodities without which a life cannot survive or sustain itself are considered to be essential in nature. As per the law, the central government has been empowered to add or delete items from the list of essential commodities. For instance, during the outbreak of natural calamities and disasters, the central government, as per the requirement, may add new items to this list and delete the same when they no longer remain to be essential. As per the Act, an essential commodity means a commodity specified in the schedule to this Act. Currently, the schedule consists of drugs, fertilizers, whether inorganic, organic or mixed, foodstuffs, including edible oilseeds and oils, hank yarn made wholly from cotton, petroleum and petroleum products, raw jute and jute textiles, seeds of food crops and seeds of fruits and vegetables, seeds of cattle fodder and jute seeds, cotton seed and masks and hand sanitizers. It is important to note that the expression foodstuff is not defined in this law. The Indian courts have interpreted the expression foodstuffs from time to time. In the case of Rashu Seeds and Farms versus Union of India, 1994, the court observed that seeds of foodstuffs are an item that has a direct bearing on the production of the foodstuffs, and consequently it is competent for the Parliament as well as the states to make laws in relation to seeds of foodstuffs. An order in respect of foodstuffs made by the central government intra vires the powers conferred by the Essential Commodities Act. Another interesting case is S. Samuel, MD, Harrison, Malayalam and another versus Union of India, 2004. In this case, the court observed that in common parlance, food is something that is eaten. In a wider sense, food may include not only solid substances but also drinks. Still, the fact remains that the substance called food should possess the quality to maintain life and its growth. It must have the nutritive and nourishing value so as to enable the growth, repair and maintenance of the body. Tea does not have any nutritive value. Therefore, tea is not a foodstuff within the meaning of the Essential Commodities Act 1955. In the case of Satpal Gupta and another versus State of Haryana and another, 1982, the question before the court was whether rice bran used to feed poultry and cattle is foodstuff within the meaning of this law. The court held that rice bran is a food within the meaning of this law. The court further observed that the term foodstuffs mean food of any kind, and the dictionary meaning of food is not restricted to food eaten by human beings for nourishment and sustenance. Rice bran is a food which is commonly used as poultry and cattle feed, and it is not legitimate to restrict the meaning of foodstuffs only to things that are used as food by human beings. Cattle and poultry are living components of the environment, and there is no reason to exclude them. What the human beings eat is food, then what the other living beings eat should also be considered food. Cattle fodder has been expressly brought within the ambit of the essential commodities. It would be illogical to exclude rice bran from the purview of the essential commodities on the ground that it is eaten by poultry and not by the human beings. Similarly, in the case of Tulsi Das Modi versus State of Odisha, 1987, the court observed that the word oil used in regard to foodstuff is edible oil and not oils like kerosene. The Act has given wide powers to add or delete commodities from the schedule as per the prevailing needs and requirements of the people. The Act provides that the central government may, if it is satisfied that it is necessary, so to do in the public interest and for the reasons to be specified in the notification published in the official gazette, amend the schedule so as to add a commodity to the said schedule or remove any commodity from the said schedule in consultation with the state governments. Every notification issued under this section shall be laid as soon as may be after it is issued before both the houses of the Parliament. Section 3 of the Act deals with the powers to regulate and control the production, supply, distribution, etc. of essential commodities. If the central government is of the opinion that it is necessary or expedient to do so for maintaining or increasing supplies of any essential commodity or for securing their equitable distribution and availability at fair prices, or for securing any essential commodity for the defense of India or the efficient conduct of military operations, it may by order provide for regulating the production, supply and distribution thereof and trade and commerce therein. The order can also be made keeping in mind the following. For regulating by licenses, permits or otherwise, the production or manufacture of any essential commodity. For bringing under cultivation any waste or arable land, this is to increase the crop production. For controlling the price at which essential commodities may be bought or sold. For regulating by licenses, permits or otherwise, the storage, transport, distribution, acquisition, use or consumption of any essential commodity. For prohibiting the withholding of any essential commodity ordinarily kept for sale. For regulating or prohibiting any class of commercial or financial transactions relating to foodstuffs that, in the opinion of the authority making the order, if unregulated, are likely to be detrimental to the public interest. For requiring persons engaged in the production, supply or distribution of or trade and commerce in any essential commodity to maintain and produce for inspection such books, accounts and records relating to their business and to furnish such information relating thereto as may be specified in the order. Section 6A of the Act has made elaborate provisions for the confiscation of essential commodities. It provides that where any essential commodity is seized in pursuance of an order made under Section 3 in relation thereto, a report of such seizure shall, without any reasonable delay, be made to the collector of the district or the presidency town in which such essential commodity is seized, and whether or not a prosecution is instituted for the contravention of such order, the collector may, if he thinks it expedient so to do, direct the essential commodity so seized to be produced for inspection before him. And if he is satisfied that there has been a contravention of the order, he may order confiscation of the essential commodities. Section 6B states that no order confiscating any essential commodity shall be made under Section 6A unless the owner of such commodity or the person from whom it is seized is given an opportunity in writing to show cause why the commodity should not be confiscated. Section 6C deals with the right to appeal. Any person aggrieved by an order of confiscation under Section 6A may, within 1 month from the date of the communication to him of such order, appeal to any judicial authority appointed by the state government concerned, and the judicial authority shall, after giving an opportunity to the appellant to be heard, pass such order as it may deem fit, confirming, modifying or cancelling the order appealed against. What is the importance of essential commodities in the lives of consumers? In the case of Prague Ice and Oil Mills versus Union of India, 1978, the Supreme Court observed that the object of the Essential Commodities Act is to ensure the availability of essential commodities to the consumers at a fair price. And though patent injustice to the producer is not to be encouraged, a reasonable return on investment or a reasonable rate of profit is not the sine qua non of the validity of action in furtherance of powers conferred by the Essential Commodities Act. The interests of the consumers have to be kept at the forefront, and the prime consideration is that an essential commodity to be made available to the consumer at a fair price must rank in priority over every other consideration. This judgment reflects the judicial perspective on protection of the rights of consumers in India. Similarly, in the case of Shri Sitaram Sugar Company Limited and another versus Union of India and others, 1990, the Supreme Court observed that while Parliament enacted the Essential Commodities Act, it has left it to the discretion of the executive to take concrete steps for fixing the prices of essential commodities as and when necessity arises by promulgating control orders in exercise of the powers vested in it by the Essential Commodities Act. During the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak, the central government, as per the Essential Commodities Act, made an order to regulate the production, supply, quality, distribution of masks and hand sanitizers. Furthermore, the central government also passed an order regulating the prices, distribution and supply of alcohol used for manufacturing the hand sanitizers, which were very essential for preventing infections and the spread of the deadly disease. This order aimed at securing raw material used for the manufacturing of the essential commodity, that is, the hand sanitizer. The main purpose of all the above mentioned orders was to prevent profiteering in terms of exceptional demand posed by the deadly virus. Relationship between essential commodities and consumer protection. The consumers can only be protected when the goods are not only available, but the availability is also at fair prices. In this regard, the Essential Commodities Act is very relevant because its key objective is to ensure, in the interest of the general public, the control of the production, supply, distribution and trade and commerce of essential commodities. How do the supply and demand of essential commodities affect economic stability? Dear listeners, there is no denying the fact that the prices of essential commodities are greatly impacted by the demand and supply. For instance, a shortfall in the production of food grains owing to adverse weather conditions may lead to a shortage in food crops. Increased transportation costs and supply chain constraints like lack of storage facilities may further aggravate the problems. Whenever the demand for essential commodities is high and the supply is low, the government takes various measures to augment domestic availability and stabilize the prices of essential food for the common people, like releases from the buffer stock, imposition of stock limits, preventing hoarding, making changes in the foreign trade policy like rationalization of import duty, changes in import quota and restrictions on exports of specific commodities. Price control mechanisms and essential commodities. A minimum support price may also be fixed by the government if it deems fit. Furthermore, the central government may also fix stock holding limits in order to ensure the availability of the essential commodity in the states. Once this limit is set, the state governments are to ensure that the wholesalers and retailers do not stock more than the amount fixed by the stock holding limit. Dear listeners, now we shall discuss the prevention of black marketing and maintenance of supplies of Essential Commodities Act 1980. Act is meant to effectively deal with malpractices associated with black marketing, hoarding, profiteering of goods, and to address the unjustified rise in prices of essential commodities by providing for the preventive detention of persons likely to indulge in such practices. Section 3 of this Act empowers the central government or the state government or any officer of the central government not below the rank of a joint secretary to that government, specially empowered for the purposes of the section by the government, or any officer of a state government not below the rank of a secretary to the government, specially empowered for the purposes of the section by the government, may, if satisfied with respect to any person, that with a view to preventing him from acting in any manner prejudicial to the maintenance of supplies of the commodity is essential to the community, it is necessary so to do, make an order directing that such person be placed under preventive detention. The Act further provides that the maximum period for which any person may be detained in pursuance of any detention order that has been confirmed under this law shall be 6 months from the date of the detention, providing that nothing contained in the section shall affect the power of the appropriate government to revoke or modify the detention order at any earlier time. In the case of Rameshwar Lal Patwari versus State of Bihar, the Supreme Court rightly stated that black marketing is a conduct that is harmful to the maintenance of supplies in the country and is against the national interest. In the case of Anupant versus State of Uttarakhand, the High Court of Uttarakhand called for the affixing of QR codes on remdesivir packets. The court rightly observed that it is a constitutional mandate and the moral duty of the state to protect its people from the pandemic and to avoid the black marketing and hoarding of essential life-saving drugs. The Honorable Supreme Court, in its suo motu order during the COVID-19 second wave, directed the central government to take strict action against the people who sold COVID-19 essential medicines and equipment at unreasonably high prices. The court also directed the central government, state government and union territories to file fresh affidavits about the steps taken to ensure the availability of essential drugs at fair prices and for preventing the black marketing of such commodities which were life-saving. Rights of consumers with regards to essential commodities. Right to availability of the goods at fair prices. Right to be protected against black marketing and hoarding of the goods. Right to good quality of the essential goods. Right to get essential goods during disasters, whether natural or man-made. The COVID-19 pandemic is an apt example of this. In the end, I would like to say that in a country like India, essential commodities and their fair price distribution are even more important due to rampant poverty and ignorance of the masses. India, being a welfare state, endeavors to take all possible steps to protect the interests of its people. The two laws discussed today are cardinal not only for preventing price rises of essential commodities, but also for punishing black marketing and hoarding of essential commodities. Most importantly, it tries to ensure the equitable distribution of essential commodities in our country. With this, we come to the end of today's lecture. Thank you very much.